How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame. We're back with another FPL stream, a deadline stream-ish today. If you're watching this over on YouTube, this is a pre-recorded, pre-streamed video the night before, because we have a Friday deadline. It's going to be a shorter one today, probably only around half an hour, maybe 45 minutes, something like that. It's going to be a bit quicker. We're going to talk about the team. We're going to show you how I do my tables. So it's going to be a bit of an instructional, as it were, if you are in the members area. And you can see what type of tables and what data we use for our videos. So a little bit fun. We'll talk about transfers as well, because I do still have a few flags in my team. Haven't made any changes. And I don't believe we've gotten any new information that we know of. It's all pretty much going to come tomorrow with Graham Potter's press conference. Trent's almost but certainly going to be out. So yeah, going to have to make some big decisions. But Mitrovic and Reece James are the ones that are potentially on the list of being injured. However, we do have cover for Trent and Mitrovic with Andreas Per and Mark Gahey. With Reece James, we're not sure if Nico Williams is actually going to start. It would be nice if he did, because it is a good fixture. But yeah, we'll talk about that more in detail when we get to the team. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Also, thank you to Melfo66 and Hatterworld for following us while we were offline. So yeah, as a note for those that are typing in the YouTube chat, this is a pre-recorded or pre-streamed VOD the night before. 99.9% of the time, that is usually the case for the deadline stream when it is middle of the week, unless it's like, I don't know, the one where there's like a holiday, like Boxing Day or something like that, or before Christmas, or something like that, where there is a holiday and we can do the deadline stream on that day, basically. So yeah, but for the ones that are midweek, I try to be in the chat and answer any questions. So if you do have any questions, let me know, and I'll be sure to answer them, almost guaranteed, basically. Or you can just leave a comment on the videos as well. But for the deadline streams that are middle of the week, live chat, usually I am there answering questions for everyone that is there and watching the VOD if you aren't able to join us here on Twitch. So anyway, let's get a look into the team. So what I'm actually going to do, because I can't remember what press conferences were today, so I'm just going to open up a new window and go on Twitter here. Fantasy Football Scout does a great collection of all the press conferences thus far. So we got some press conference quotes. So we've had Forest. We've had Brighton. We've had Brentford, Leicester, Everton. And then apparently Arteta and Ten Hag's were supposed to be after their games tonight. But those will most likely be embargoed till tomorrow. So presumably we're still in the same situation as we were before. So with that being said, at the moment, we have Trent flagged, we have Reece James flagged, and we have Alexander Mitrovic flagged. So how can we sort this out? Well, we can play it fairly greedily, basically. We can use our 3 subs on our bench and hope that they all play, and then we'll have a full 11. Is it the most optimal 11? Far from it. I would say. We wouldn't have Trippier. We wouldn't have another really solid defender, because I don't think Nico Williams is a solid defender at the moment, especially because Forest do concede goals, but Wolves have only scored 3 goals all season, so a little more optimism there. We do have Triple City, which I think is good versus Liverpool. However, the title of the stream is Upset on the Cards. Is Liverpool going to potentially upset City? I think the answer is probably no, but they'll be up for it. They'll know how important the game is. Man City haven't lost yet this season, so maybe a low incentive there for Jurgen Klopp and his men to be able to put a little bit of a damper on Man City. Also, I still think if I'm correct in saying it. Let me just double check this. Because Van Dijk, I don't think, has ever lost at home. So let's see. They drew, they won, they drew. Yeah, so Van Dijk still hasn't lost at home yet. Since arriving at Anfield in the Premier League, which is crazy. Because all those times they were losing at Anfield last season, he was injured, basically. He got the injury from the foul from Jordan Pickford, was out for 9 months or whatever it was. Joe Gomez was shortly after that, and they had that whole debacle with all the center backs being injured and whatnot. So, yeah, I expect Man City to win the game. I predicted 4-1. I think Liverpool's defense is just so shaky at the moment. They're going to have to field a makeshift backline. I think Robertson being back for them is good. And I think that should be a little bit of a help, but I'm not so sure that Liverpool can basically hold out City's attack, is basically the thing that if I was a Liverpool fan, which I'm not, but if I was a Liverpool fan, that would be the thing I'd be most worried about. I know that Liverpool are good enough to basically split City open and score goals. That's not really the issue. The issue is City are going to retain a lot of the ball. Liverpool are going to play on the counter for the most part, which they probably favor at the moment, considering it makes it easier for them. And it's just a matter of can they hold out City, and I'm not sure they can, because City's attack at the moment is just different at the moment with Erling Haaland and De Bruyne playing the way that they are, as well as the likes of Grealish, who's picked up his game. Bernardo Silva's been fantastic. Gundogan comes in every now and again, is great. Rodri's still a force in midfield. Phil Foden, probably the best young player in the world apart from Haaland, and Jude Bellingham at the moment. And obviously 2 out of those 3 play on the same team. So, yeah, I think it's going to be very tough for Liverpool. But they have home field advantage at Anfield, so the crowd's going to be up for it. So hopefully that they can put in a decent showing. You don't want to see a one-side. As much as I would like to see Liverpool lose, it's kind of the lesser of two evils, City being City rivals for Man United, being a Man United fan, and Liverpool being arch rivals. I just want to see a good game. I don't want to see it ruined by some stupid red card, even if Liverpool is on the receiving end of it. I don't want to see anything where the game just gets, like, the referee makes a dumb decision and it just ruins the game, where it's like a penalty and it clearly wasn't a penalty. I don't want to see anything like that, and I don't want to see like a straight one-sided affair, unless it's for City, because obviously I have Triple City in my FPL team. So, but I still think City are going to win. But with that being said, Trent is flagged. It looks like he's going to be back in 3 game weeks' time, which is unfortunate because Leeds at home would be the only fixture that he would have. For the Forest fixture, you probably like him for. But yeah, it looks like he's going to be out almost certainly. Klopp will probably almost certainly confirm that for sure tomorrow when he does his press conference. Then with Reece James. Now, Reece James, they said at worst it's going to be the Man United game, which is... He'll be back for the Man United game, that is. Which is just over a week away. So clearly it's not too bad of an injury. The thing is, though, if he's out for the Villa game, then it's probably a sell for me. Because the Brentford game, even if he is back for that, it's, you know, still going to be a bit... probably his best fixture, but it's still going to be a bit tricky, I think. Man United is going to be a tough game. Brighton away is going to be a tough game. Arsenal's a tough game. Newcastle's a tough game. And then it's unlimited transfers, and you could just get him back in, assuming he's fit after the World Cup. So, plain and simple there. Mitrovic, I'm not too worried about him being injured. If he is injured and he can't play for the Bournemouth game, that's disappointing, but he should be back for the Villa, Leeds, and Everton games, and then we should be good to go there. Andreas Pereira, perfectly suitable to come in, scored last week. He can come in and be the perfect foil for that. That's not really what I'm too concerned about, is because Pereira can't come in for a defender, because we only have 3 defenders in the system at the moment. It needs to be either Guehi or Nico Williams. Now, I'm happy with Mark Guehi to come in. He does play Leicester away, so it's kind of a Maddison-Zaha dynamic where they go up against each other, just adding one more into the mix. Against Solanke and Mitrovic will be against each other, same as Solanke versus Pereira in that instance as well. So that doesn't help us out on that front. But hopefully Nico Williams can get this get the nod. He hasn't in the last 2 games. Well, I think he did start this game. He just got subbed at halftime. But yeah, it doesn't look like he's going to potentially start. So there is potential that Nico Williams could be the one to kind of just go, and we hang on to Trent and James, or we just get rid of Trent and hang on to James, because he does have a fixture in 12, which is kind of the benefit of having him. And I think that could prove to be somewhat important if it's a situation where Graham Potter comes out and says, like, hey, look, he's a bit doubtful for the Villa game, but he'll definitely be back for the Brentford game, 100%. Then it's probably a case to keep him, because then we can then have him for that when we're going to be looking to need players. So if that was the case, we would then probably just roll the dice with Andreas Pereira, Mark Gahey, and Nico Williams, and then just not play these two. So if we went to the transfer planner, so this is how the team is currently set up. This is FPL.team for those that don't know. Fantastic site. So yeah, basically, if Trent, James, and Mitrovic are all out, Mitrovic being out doesn't really matter, to be honest. But Gahey would slot in for Reece James if he's not playing, and Nico Williams would come in if Trent were to miss out. I mean, I've been getting zeros in that spot anyway, so if Nico Williams comes on and gets me anything more than 0, I'll be perfectly happy with that. If we didn't make a transfer, then that's actually quite good. If we could field an 11 and just kind of hopefully we do okay in this game week. I mean, we have Triple City, which is going to be probably better than some teams. We still have Martinelli, who's got a good fixture. Madison Zaha looks to be quite good. Solanke's been doing well for us. Just our defense is a bit shaky. Then we go into the blank game week. We'd have 2 free transfers. This is where if we wanted to field any form of 11, assuming Reece James is fit, we would need to get rid of 2 players. Trent wouldn't be back, so this is where a problem arises. So if Reece James is going to be out and he says, okay, well, he's not going to be back until at the earliest the United game, then we have to make the decisions before that. But if he's not, then we can make a couple of transfers to make things a bit easier. So, or we could just do just the one transfer. We can just do De Bruyne to Salah. I just run it with 10. Salah would be our captain. We would just, I guess, vice captain, whoever. We could run with 10 players. Trent's not going to play, obviously. If Reece James is fit, it's probably more like 9.5 because of Nico Williams. But I think there's not really much upside to gain in this week, regardless, because the ideal circumstance is we go into game week 13 with 2 free transfers, and we can do a -4 to whereas we can get triple City, triple Arsenal if we wanted to do that. So Cancelo would come back in. Trent wouldn't be available for this one. Martinelli would come back in. And then what we could do is we would then use Trent's money. We would drop him down. Trippier, I think, is a decent option. He does play Spurs away, but his fixtures in the next 2 after that are quite decent. And he's always got a decent enough delivery on him. Saliba, who's actually been going up in price, he is another option here. He would have Southampton, Forest, and Wolves, all of which I think are possible clean sheets for Arsenal. So he would be a potential option in defense. So he could slot in over Gahey, who would be a backup on the bench. We could then get rid of Mo Salah. We could bring in Phil Foden, who's also been going up in price. He would be a good shout in midfield. And then we could lastly bring in a third Arsenal player. That would most likely be Gabriel Jesus, who could come in and fill that 8 million slot. Even if we didn't want to get rid of Trent, like let's say he was back for the Forest game randomly, or we did want to keep him for Leeds, we could potentially hang on to him because we still have 2.3 million in the bank. So maybe Nico Williams is the one we potentially get rid of. This is assuming Reece James is still fine. And then, like I said, we could still bring in Saliba there because we've cheapened out the midfield. And that would be for a -4. If Trent somehow miraculously was back, we would probably play him, I guess, over... I don't know, probably... maybe Reece James. I don't know. It'd be a tough call. And then the following week we could have one free transfer. We could get rid of Maddison and bring in potentially another midfielder of some kind, or we could swap Maddison out for Trent if he is back for that Leeds game, and then we can use the funds to upgrade elsewhere. Maybe we get rid of Mitrovic for some type of forward. Maybe we, like I said, we get rid of Maddison, potentially upgrade Mark Gahey. There's many different options that we can do. So that's kind of what we're looking at. But it kind of depends on the news. If I had to guess right now, so I would say, if I had to, again, this is obviously in the past, me saying this before the press conferences. Me, in the future, I wouldn't know what this would entail as I go to say this, but there could be a chance that all three are fit. There could be a chance that none of them are fit, and anything in between. My bets would be, because you guys will already know this news at the time of this recording coming out, Trent will be injured. Mitrovic, I think, will be fit, and Reece James will potentially be injured. So basically what I would do is Reece James would be probably the fall guy in this instance. I would get rid of Reece James. I would get rid of Trent Alexander-Arnold probably as well. And I might even just get rid of Nico Williams just to remove something there, potentially. Maybe I just do the 2, and then I would consider only playing 10, just to roll the transfers, just so I can have 3 to go in with triple Arsenal, triple City after the fact. So if James was injured, Trent was injured, and Mitrovic was fit, because I think that's the most likely, I would get rid of Trent. I would probably bring in some type of Brighton defender, probably Webster. And I would get rid of Reece James if he was saying like he was going to be back for Brentford. And I would bring in probably Kieran Trippier. And just play him versus Man United. He's just been burning me week in, week out, to be honest. Who would I play over Webster or Mark Gahey? Well, since I have 2 attackers going up against each other, I'd rather Maddison score than Gahey keep a clean sheet. So I'm going to go with Webster to see if he can keep a clean sheet. This could also be Lewis Dunk as well. And that would be for a -4. Our bench looks much stronger in this instance. If Reece James was going to be fit for the Brentford game, I would instead get rid of Nico Williams. Nico Williams would go, and in come, I'll just put Lewis Dunk in here as another example. He would go in there. Reece James, I mean, he's not going to play, but in this instance, but we would have him in there. And if Reece James was fit, then we would play him over Lewis Dunk and swap him in his place. That would be for a -4. Then in game week 12, we would basically put all the players in that we can. So Pereira comes in. Reece James, again, if he's fit, would come in. Mark Gahey would come in for De Bruyne here. And then we could just honestly, we have pretty much all the players you could probably have apart from Salah in this instance, but I don't think Liverpool's going to be all that great. Captaincy would be a bit interesting. I think I'd probably put it on Maddison or Zaha. So it'd be one of those 2. We could then bank a transfer. Got some good home fixtures out of our players here. And then game week 13, we have the 2 free transfers. So Cancelo would come back in for Dunk. De Bruyne would come back in for Mark Gahey. We could then put in Martinelli over Dominic Solanke. This is where we could potentially change things up. We could get rid of Madison for Saka. We could get rid of Reece James for... I mean, Reece James' fixtures are a bit tough. So, honestly, I'd rather Reece James just be out until after the Man United game. That would make my decision much easier. But in this instance, we would say if we wanted to use our transfers, I think we would probably do something like Madison out for Bukayo Saka. He would come straight in. We could then do De Bruyne to Phil Foden. And then Dominic Solanke would come out for Gabriel Jesus, who would slot in over Andreas Pereira. Haaland would be the captain. We'd have triple Arsenal attack. We'd have triple City. I think that's probably the City's best three. That would be for -4. And then we're just chilling pretty much for a little bit. No real obvious transfers to make in this game week. And then you kind of just roll it, see what happens. Game week 15, you have 2 free transfers. Maybe this is where you start... You get rid of maybe a couple Arsenal, because Wolves away is a bit trickier. So maybe you go for something else. Maybe this is where we trade out Mitrovic for somebody for 2 game weeks. So if we look at like the 2 best fixtures in 15 and 16, maybe some type of Brighton forward or midfielder would be good. An Everton forward or midfielder, maybe if they were there. We already have triple City, so we can't. Maybe a United forward or midfielder. Maybe a West Ham forward or midfielder. That would be something that we can do. So, yeah, bunch of different things we can do. I think that it's all going to come down to the Reece James news. I think that if he's out until like I said, after the Brentford game and he's back for the United game, me personally, I think he's not going to get a clean sheet versus United. I don't think he's going to keep a clean sheet versus Brighton either. I think it'd be very good if they did get one. Like, they would have played good if they would have kept a clean sheet there. Same with Arsenal and Newcastle, where it's tough for anyone. So I think that it would be worth selling Reece James. Even though we have only just the 0.1 value tied up in him, we're going to lose it anyway. So our big value players at the moment are Cancelo, who's probably not going to leave our team. Martinelli, we got a little bit of value on Zaha. We got a crazy amount of value on Madison, actually. De Bruyne going up once more would be nice. And Haaland is obviously we got ridiculous value on Haaland, as do most managers in FPL. So that's kind of the situation there. Now, let's take a look at some of our tables. So this is actually Fantasy Football Scout's website. This is the non-beta version. I like the simpler version. This is the previous build because I think it runs a little bit better with the tables. So yeah, we can take a look at some of the tables. So here's one goals imminent table. Let's go and view that one. So it's going to develop all the different things on the tables. You can modify them, you can remove them, and I have these public in the Fantasy Football Scout members area, so you can check them out whenever you want. So this is a goals imminent table. This is something that was actually designed by FF Scout Joe. Shout out to FF Scout Joe, who does the Scoutcast and has done for many years. But basically, this is a table designed to see who is underperforming and should be scoring more goals. So Joe Willock is at the top of that. He should have scored 1.41 extra goals so far. Danny Welbeck's on there. Salah, Darwin Nunez are on there, hence the title of the stream, the potential upset. Neo Mopé's on there. Christie's on there. Zaha's on there, which is interesting. And Harvey Barnes is on there. So these are players that are potentially expected to score sometime soon. So it's good that we have Zaha on there, which is fantastic to see. If we go back to the other stats table, so what would be an interesting thing? Well, the captaincy is probably going to be on Haaland this week, so we'll ignore that table. But let's take a look at defenses and attacks. So I'm I'm going to open these two tables. So how good is your team's attack and captaincy against, also known as the patented whipping boys table, as it were. Basically, the teams who have the weakest defenses. So this is over the last 4 matches. So I'm going to sort it by expected goals. And we can see at the top, the best attack currently in the last 4 matches is actually Newcastle. So United might struggle to keep them out. They have the most big chances with 15. Non-penalty XG as well is also top. But they've only scored 10 goals in that time, whereas City have a slightly lower non-penalty XG by 0.10. And they've got 4 more goals, which is actually crazy to kind of think about. If we sorted by non-penalty XG, things just slightly change, but the teams that you would expect are up the top there. If we look at defenses, XG conceded, so this is sorted by the teams with the worst defense, so teams that should have conceded a lot of goals. Fulham is at the top. Leicester, are at the top. Liverpool, Leeds, and Everton are the top 5 teams there. Now, which teams are playing which this week? Well, Fulham play Bournemouth, so that bodes well for Dominic Solanke. I know his head's cut off, but Bournemouth potentially could be in for some goals there. Secondly, we have Leicester. Leicester go up against Crystal Palace with Wilfried Zaha, who's also on the goals imminent table. So that bodes well for them as well. In third, we have Liverpool again. That bodes well for Man City. Leeds, they play... Who do Leeds play? They play Arsenal. So any Arsenal assets for this 1 week are looking quite good as well. And then lastly, we have Everton. And Everton and Palace are on there as well. And who do Everton have this week? Everton play Spurs. Any Spurs assets? I know a lot of people on Twitter kind of doing mumblings about whether they want to get Matt Doherty in, as an example. That could be an interesting shout. Or Ryan Sessegnon. Those two could be very good differential picks. And then Crystal Palace. So it should be a shootout between Leicester and Crystal Palace. Could be quite interesting. So that's probably why I'm leaning towards, if I don't have to play Guehi, I won't, but you know, that would require me to get rid of Reece James and Trent Alexander-Arnold. Or if I think Reece James is potentially going to be okay for the Brentford game, or maybe I just want to keep him, I could just get rid of Nico Williams and Trent and then go from there. Because I think at worst case, Nico Williams probably comes off the bench games and gets a point. So we'll have to see on that front. So yeah, that's the team currently as it stands. Those are our tables. We do have a couple others, but those are more captaincy oriented in our tables, which, I mean, just captain Erling Haaland. Liverpool are leaking goals left, right, and center. It makes no sense not to go with Erling Haaland. If you don't have Erling Haaland, captain a Man City player of some kind, probably, is what I would say. So, I said it was going to be a shorter stream. This is the team currently as it stands. So, Raya, Cancelo, Trent, Reece James, De Bruyne, Martinelli, Zaha, Maddison, Haaland, Dominic Solanke, and Mitrovic with Andreas Pereira, Mark Guehi, and Nico Williams on the bench. So, basically, my plan is I will be, like I said, in the chat for this video, so hopefully I answered all your questions. My lineup should have been out by now over on Twitter, so make sure to follow us over on that as well. And yeah, make sure to go check that out. I'll probably post this so that it at least gives you like a 15-minute buffer before the deadline or something like that. Yeah, my lineup should be out on Twitter by now. Because I would have already heard the team news and that sort of stuff. But the likelihood is if Mitrovic is fit or not fit, and he's going to be either back next week or he's back this week. It doesn't really matter to me. I'll just play Andreas Pereira. If Trent looks like he's going to be out, if Reece James is going to be out until after the Brentford game, then I'll probably make 2 changes for a -4. If Reece James looks like he's going to be back for Brentford, then I might actually just roll the dice and just keep everyone as is and play who isn't injured, basically. So yeah, that's probably what I'll end up doing. So yeah, let's move over to the big screen. So is there an upset on the cards for Man City? Is Liverpool potentially going to snag the victory? Van Dijk's never lost at home since he's come to Liverpool in the Premier League when playing at Anfield. So, very interesting stuff. Last game of the game week. Remember, it is a Friday deadline. So if you're seeing this video and wondering why there's a deadline stream out on a Friday, it's because the deadline's probably in about 15 minutes or so. So make sure to have your teams locked in because the deadline is on Friday, being today at the time of you seeing this video. But shout out to Fantasy Football Scout. You enjoyed some of the tables in the members area. If you enjoyed some of the tables in the members area, make sure to check them out. Link is in the description below or in the About section over on Twitch, where we do all our live streams, as well as over on Twitter in our bio. So make sure to also like, favorite, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Until the next one, happy Game Week 11, everyone, and take care.